It was then that I realized that brute forcing your way into your desired situation is not gonna cut it. What's up everyone, and welcome to another video from Fitness Nation. In today's video we're going to talk about one of the main dream killers in today's society, and that is inconsistency. There have been more times that I can count where I set out to do some kind of action that theoretically made sense to help me reach my goal, but that ended up not working because I would be very inconsistent with it. It's not that I didn't want to improve, but what really happened is that I would look at an area of my life that I struggled with. I'd become aware of the problem and then create an action plan to get rid of that problem. I would start implementing my plan for a few weeks, but since it usually took months to see any kind of progress, I would start doubting my plan and telling myself that it was just a waste of time. I would end up convincing myself of the fallacy of my plan and would reaffirm that the lack of results was because of the plan itself, not because it took time to see the effects of consistency. This would lead me to scrap the plan completely, even if the action steps were the most reasonable actions to take in order to reach my goal. Or I would keep the plan and implement the steps occasionally, because I would think it wouldn't work anyway, so there was no point in wasting time trying to implement the actions regularly. I'll tell you a story so that you can better understand what I'm talking about. A few months ago I was struggling to completely focus and direct my undivided attention to my work every day. I would start working on something, like creating a presentation or shooting a video, and my mind would start to wander and have random thoughts every 5 to 10 minutes. And it would really distract me because I wouldn't be able to catch it until sometime later. So after I became aware of the issue and looked for a solution to fix it, I came up with a plan to practice focus and attention during meditation. The way it worked was that I would meditate 20 minutes a day, 7 days a week, without missing a day. And the point of this exercise was to concentrate on the breath. So I would actively focus on the sensation of the air coming in and out of my nose, right where it touches the skin coming in through my nose. Then I would set a timer for 20 minutes and try to eliminate all the thoughts from my brain, except about focusing on the breath. The main objective of this exercise is to catch the mind whenever it starts having random thoughts that have nothing to do with focusing on the breath, so that once you catch it you can go back to focusing on the breath. I started doing this every day, but the problem was that since I didn't see any results after a few weeks, I started questioning the accuracy and reliability of my plan. Maybe this is the wrong plan, I thought to myself. And I said, there has to be another action that I can do daily that will give me the results that I want. So I stopped doing my daily action plan and did some more research to find a more effective strategy. And to my surprise, I came across 3 different people who are not related or know each other that said that focusing on the breath while meditating dramatically improved their concentration after doing it for several months. It was then that I realized I had been having the wrong expectations, and as a result I was being inconsistent and getting no results. You see, if you have a plan that should theoretically work, inconsistency is the worst obstacle you can have. You have already done the hardest part, which is to do research and make sure that the plan works for you. Once you have a proven winning formula, the only thing left is to do the work. And of course, it's always easier said than done. Inconsistency can be just a symptom of a much bigger problem, like lack of discipline, lack of motivation, failure to believe that you're capable of putting in the work and obtaining that goal, or failure to see your potential and the reward that the goal will bring. And having any of the problems that I just described will lead to the same resolution of taking action for a few days, but quitting before ever seeing some results. There's also the flip side to that, which is that you might see some results within a short time frame of implementing your plan, but you stop taking action and either become stagnant or move backwards to the place where you were at the beginning. So you see the results and become convinced that your plan works and that it's actually easier than you thought. You start to take the process for granted and start being inconsistent, failing to realize that implementing those actions is what got you those results. Before you know it, you're at the same point where you began your journey, and you start to worry about moving backwards even more. So you start implementing your action plan again, and you see some results. You take it for granted and relax, and you start moving backwards again. And the cycle just keeps repeating itself without really achieving anything. It just goes back and forth like a spring. After looking at all the instances in my life where I have been inconsistent and comparing them to the instances where I implemented consistent action and made huge breakthroughs, I came up with this spring analogy. Imagine your current situation or the situation in which you're struggling as the neutral state of the spring. We all know a spring in a neutral state cannot be stretched unless we apply some external force to it. So imagine taking action and implementing your plan on a daily basis as the external force needed to stretch the spring. The goal is to move from your current situation to your desired situation with the help of your plan. The problem with this is that you can follow the steps for a few weeks, even a few months, and you will move closer to your goal, giving the illusion that the goal is attainable. So you slow down and start being inconsistent, and you start to go backwards. Daily implementation of your plan is the external force you need to stretch the spring. So as soon as you start being inconsistent and take away the external force, the spring starts to retract to its original position, and it will keep going back until you apply more force in the form of relentless execution. There will eventually be a point where you get to your desired situation after sticking to your plan for a long time. And at this point you must keep following the plan and still being consistent with it. And the reason why this is true is because the spring can only change its neutral position if it is stretched over a long period of time. The key phrase here is long period of time. Once you obtain the results that you always wanted, the process through which you achieve them has to be part of you. If the process isn't part of your life, you will start retracting again. And the only way to make the process part of your life is to repeat it so many times. This is the reason why some people can lose 30 pounds in 2 months through hard work and brute force, but then gain all the weight again and retract to their natural position. It's not that the process they use to lose weight doesn't work or only works for 2 months, but the problem is that doing it for 2 months wasn't enough time for the process to become part of their life. And as soon as you start implementing tactics that aren't sustainable, you're fighting a losing battle. You might win in the short run, like losing all that weight in a short time frame, but you will suffer the consequences in the long run. It's like the time I was training to run a half marathon. I was trying to train for a 13-mile race when 1, I have never run more than 6 miles, and 2, I ran once every month. I found a 14-week training plan that initially had low difficulty training sessions, but that increased the level of difficulty with each passing day. So I started training and everything was going well. The first 2 weeks I ran 4 miles. The way it was designed was that I had to train 4 days a week. 1 day was dedicated to train for endurance, and this is where I had to run the longest distance. The other 3 were focused on training for speed. So even though I didn't have to run a long distance, I still had to do it at a quick pace, which took a toll on my recovery period. The 3rd week I had to run 6 miles, and this is where the problems began. By this week I had 8 training sessions with roughly a day of recovery in between sessions. I started to run the 6-mile course and my left Achilles tendon started to hurt passing mile 5, and it made me slow down and become more aware of how I stepped. But I decided I wouldn't give up and decided to keep running. I managed to finish the training session with pain, and it only got worse from there. The pain on my heel was so great that I missed the speed session 2 days later. And when I tried to train for speed on the following session, I started running and the pain got worse with every step. In the end, my heel took 2 months to heal, and I didn't run the half marathon. It was then that I realized that brute forcing your way into your desired situation is not gonna cut it. Had I been an active runner who is used to running long distances on a consistent basis, I would have been able to complete my training and participate in the race. But that was the problem. Running wasn't part of me yet. I tried to ignore that key factor, and it showed me that time plays a crucial role when it comes to achieving your goals. It isn't until consistent execution meets a prolonged period of time that you're able to see a great reward and sustainable results. So keep in mind the sustainability factor whenever you're making your plan. Because if you don't, it's gonna get you one way or another. And the spring that you're tirelessly trying to stretch is just going to retract to its original position. But that's it for this video. Hope you liked it and I will see you in the next one.